What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Global Gaming Network channel, a place where we have the grand opportunity to go over everything to do with esports across the entirety of the world. Plenty to go over today. We got League of Legends kicking off, Counter-Strike is going down in Bucharest, as well as Valorant is going on all across the entirety of the world. Call of Duty is also back in action as well as we get ready for Major 3, all of that and more. This is Today in Esports, powered by AIM Labs. What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us. Today in Esports is back again on this fine Monday. Like I was saying, we got plenty to go over, but first and foremost, my name is Andy. Joined with me as always is Chris. How you doing after the weekend, man?
I'm doing great. There was a lot to take in over the weekend, but it was exciting. But Call of Duty kicked off with this major qualifiers going into Major 3. Give us the rundown on that.
Absolutely. Yeah, like Chris was saying, we just jumped straight into the Major 3 qualifiers. We are now 1 out of 5 weeks done. Instead of the 7-week qualifiers that we were having in previously, it's just these 5 qualifiers, then we pack our bags down to Florida. And there were a lot of matches to go over, so we're going to take our time and go over one specific match per day, starting off with Friday. Optic Texas going up against Minnesota Rokkr. This one had a lot on the line, given that Kenny, the Jedi, is back. He is now playing with Minnesota and up against his former team of Optic Texas. Map 1 was going down on Skyline Hardpoint, and it was a very competitive series. I mean, you couldn't have asked for these two teams to be so competitive in between each other. The first time that Optic got a leg up, Bruce found 3. It sets up Shotzzy inside the kitchen to find 1, 2. Might as well swing around towards the opposite side and find the 3rd eventually. But Minnesota still fought back in the map 1 valiantly. See here at the end of P4, still very competitive. Nero took his turn, finds already 2. There's the 3rd, goes and swings around the back with the aims for the 4th. And Minnesota Rokkr are going to go on to hold the entirety of P4, not to mention the lead. This would continue on all the way through the entirety of this map until it reached this moment in time. 206 to 230. Jumps to 222 to 230. Inside P3, Optic Texas get a perfect hold. They get the rotation over towards P4. They win map 1, 250 to 230. You better strap yourselves in because it was a real good best of 5 series. Map 2 went over towards the Rewind, Search, and Destroy, which Rokkr subsequently did win 6-4, and they looked really good on it. I mean, Hook did have his moment of getting a 3-piece in round number 5, but Nero was undeniable. I mean, there were so many different rounds that he was just finding so many kills in sequence of one another. He was outright just winning rounds by himself, especially in this one right here. Finds the 2nd, almost instantaneously, snaps onto his forehead. Maps 2 and 3 went back and forth all the way down towards a round 11 map 5. A very unfortunate team kill on Kenny meant that you could just play the trades if you are Optic Texas with the bomb planted. They get the rock down, they get the trade. Skies gets all the kills with the pistol, and Optic Texas are now 1-0 in their qualifier stage. But Minnesota looked good. Again, they only made the one-man change. They brought Kenny in. You could genuinely tell that all 3 players, Estriel, Nero, as well as Geo, really look to Ken as far as a veteran lead is concerned. They keep turning over to him. They keep listening to him as far as the comms are concerned. I think this is a very bright moment for Minnesota Rokkr, not to mention the Green Wall as well, who are starting the qualifiers 1-0. But jumping over towards Saturday, we got the new Los Angeles Guerrillas M8 going up against Carolina Row Ravens. T-Fel is going up against his former team and teammates, both TJ Halley as well as Gwyn, from the team he was on previous season. But is the changes from Johnny and T-Fel bringing into LAG mates going to be enough to take against Carolina Royal Ravens? We're going to have to find out. Map 1 was definitely an interesting one, to say the least. I mean, on Protocol Hardpoint, Carolina Royal Ravens desperately need to make this a better game mode for them, and Gwyn definitely let him have it. I mean, 25 and 21, just about over halfway through this map. It was a photo finish, but Carolina Royal Ravens were still able to win the map nonetheless. I think the LA mates were definitely coming to play. Johnny looked very good alongside world champion Kismet. I can only imagine how well this team will do as the weeks continue on. As we continue on through the rest of the series, Carolina were able to take the red card, Search, and Destroy. Then we went over to the Hacienda Control, and Los Angeles Guerrillas mates just annihilated Carolina Royal Ravens. They didn't even score a single round. A 3-0 in the Control for the Hacienda. Finally, LAG mates get on the board, but then we moved over towards the map 4, and this is where we ended up calling game. Red card hardpoint, Carolina were able to win there in the end, and honestly speaking, I think that Los Angeles Guerrillas mates do have something to build off of this all entirely. Johnny looked really good throughout the entirety of the series. His slang is definitely on point. Definitely a lot of consideration for what this young man is able to do given his very short stint in the league previously with the Paris Legion. The Carolina Royal Ravens like I was saying, just undeniable. I mean, Slasher, he was just beaming. In this one clip alone, going on an 8 spree combined with win, and then subsequently his own individual 8 spree. Even with the sub, Austin Litigo, are you 18 again? I swear. 1.13 overall KD in the entirety of the series, and in Hardpoint alone had a 1.38 KD. Slasher was definitely the Litigo of the series as Carolina were able to win that one 3-1. Now over towards Sunday. We had the El Clasico over the past 30 days with Vancouver Surge versus LAT. Now, we were robbed of this matchup on LAN, and it's unfortunate to say, but hey, LAT got to answer back, and Vancouver Surge would love to start their qualifiers win with an online match win over the team that's bested them twice in the calendar month, and that is LAT. Map 1 was definitely one to keep an eye for. LAT just came out of the woodworks and just absolutely swinging. They were pissed about their conclusion of Major 2, I am sure, going in as the #1 seed, but Vancouver Surge, the moment they hit their listen in, just bounced right back. They were down by almost 80 whole freaking points, and then they go AWOL. The dive chow from 0-4, sure, able to go on a 4 spree. It sets up his team for so much success going forward, but it just simply was enough. Surge may have fought back, but LAT still win the map 1, 251-83. Dealership, Search and Destroy, one of the new map mode combinations. LAT looked so strong on it. Surge may have taken the lead with the bang out in round 5, but when you go and you watch this Dealership Search and Destroy again, LAT won 4 straight to then take a 2-0 lead. And then you had the tenacity, Vancouver Surge, to challenge LAT on protocol control. This is the #1 control team. LAT have only lost 1 control in the past 30 days, and it was against Toronto Ultra on LAN. And it was a continuation of all of that here. I mean, LAT get a full hold on round 1. Neptune might have been fighting. He might have finished overly positive, but the rest of his team just had no answer for what the Dark Prince of Envoy was doing. 1.29 overall KD for Envoy, 2.25 in the S&D, and then you have 3,400 damage in the map 3. That is the most damage in the entire lobby for this game. Envoy is in prime form, even with that 6 spree. LAT constantly putting Vancouver in the absolute spawn trap. You love to see it if you are a fan of LAT, given how things did conclude in Major 2, but for Vancouver Surge, still plenty to look into. It's still early doors as far as the qualifiers are concerned. I'm not too worried about what they're going to be able to produce going in towards Florida, but their matchups might need to be taken a little bit more focus on. So here's how everything did conclude as far as week 3 is concerned. Their overall match results are here. Like I was saying, this is week 1 of 5 for Major 3 qualifiers on Friday. Atlanta Faze did lose to Toronto Ultra 3-2. Optic Texas did beat Minnesota Rokkr, as I said, in map 5, and the Vancouver Surge bested the New Vegas Falcons 3-0. Saturday, we had Toronto Ultra actually forfeiting to Boston Breach. We'll get into that in a little bit. So Boston did get the 3-0 win. Optic Texas also beat Cloud9 New York 3-0, so they started off 2-0 in the series. We went over Carolina versus LAG. And then the new Miami Heretics best the Vegas Falcons, albeit Vegas finally went a hard point. Miami Heretics win the map 5. And then Sunday, Boston Breach did lose the map 5 to Minnesota Rokkr, who now start 1-1 in their qualifiers. Carolina Royal Ravens are going to be starting 1-1 after a 1-3 loss to Atlanta Faze. And then, as we were talking about, a 3-0 win for LAT versus the Vancouver Surge. And this is how everything is currently stacked up as far as the standings are concerned. Again, you get 5 total qualifier matches. There's only so many CDL points to go around, and you want to make sure that you are placing the top 8 for qualifiers to start in the winner's bracket to get a better foothold as far as the points are concerned ahead of champs. As the standings currently suggest, 2-0, the Optic Texas sitting up there with a great opening week of qualifiers, though they are one of 3 teams that have only played 2 matches of qualifiers, or 4, excuse me. A lot of teams at 1-1, teams 1-0, Miami Heretics, LAT rounding out the top 3, and then teams still searching for their first dub. Cloud9 New York, like I said, they lost to Optic. Vegas Falcons are 0-2, though apparently they can still win a hard point, so they're still looking okay for the rest of their strength of schedule, maybe. And then LA Gorilla Mates are also starting winless as far as this stage is concerned. So a lot to be considerate of when it comes down to Call of Duty for Major 3. The last topic that we got to talk about as far as Call of Duty is concerned is that forfeit. There's been a lot of conversation as far as lag and stability as far as Call of Duty servers are concerned, and whether you're talking from the perspective playing up against Carolina Royal Ravens, or you're talking from the perspective of Toronto Ultra playing up against Boston Breach, there was a certain level of just unfairness that Toronto Ultra did feel from their server side, that they just felt like the game was unplayable. They were told just to deal with it. They didn't want to, so they forfeited the series, and hopefully this starts conversation with the league to maybe bolster their servers, if not make it a little bit more fair. Definitely a point of conversation given how much of this league is actually played online to set up what could potentially be 1 or maybe 2, sometimes no LAN matches played. So yeah, definitely a lot to consider as far as Call of Duty is concerned. But that's all we got as far as the shooty shoots are concerned with the controller in our hand. Now we're going to shift our focus over towards Chris with League of Legends.
And what a day it was. LTA finally kicked off. Both North and South did have their inaugural games for Split 2 kick off, and we're going to go ahead and get into that week 1 of the positioning phase. Week 1 of the positioning phase is going to be a best of 1, so remember, as going into these games, there's a lot on the line as they want to have the best seeding going into the group phase. FlyQuest and Team Liquid would kick off the Split 2 match, and we did have inspiration from FlyQuest coming out of Inspired as he would go 7-0-6 on the Xinjiao to help lead his team to their first win of the positioning phase. In the 5th minute of the game, he would provide an early game gank to give pressure to his team, but it wasn't until that mid to late game where he was finally able to find the pressure needed to help his team get the kills needed to help win the game. He would eventually get some kills on to multiple members, giving him 3 kills to 0 in the late game, and they would get a Baron uncontested that would allow them to continue to push the game. Here in the late game, we see him jumping onto the enemy team, getting multiple kills, and going godlike at the end of the game to help them win this game number 1. Here we see at the end, the team FlyQuest was able to take down Team Liquid in their first match, giving them the first win of the split and a much needed win going into the split number 2 in the positioning phase, as Team Liquid had just come back from first stand. Now moving over to Team Liquid's second game, though, they would finally find a way back into it when they faced off versus 100 Thieves. APA came out swinging and was scooping up Team 100 Thieves going off. Here we see a scoop onto River, getting that first kill, allowing Impact to start it. Finally, we see the shutdown from APA on that rise, and they continue their onslaught as they go through the rest. There, the ace. Next into this, we see another one moving up on the flank there. A double scoop means a double kill. And here again, APA just doing such a great job on the Azir, allowing his team to get back and not being deterred from that loss against FlyQuest on that Saturday. This will allow them to go in, push into the base, and get their first win of the split number 2, tying up their series score to 1-1. Again, the positioning phase, these early best of 1s matter so much as they want to have a higher seed going into that group stage. APA would end the game on this year with a 6-3-7 KDA and a 77% kill participation rate, doing such a great job. Maybe not the best KDA of the game, but surely the most impactful player to help them get that win and tie up the series to 1-1. Now, that is the end of what we are covering for LTA North. We'll go over the standings and the schedule a little bit later on, but let's go ahead and turn our attention to the LEC. They're going into their second week of matches from their round robin, and remember, they are playing a best of 3. So let's go ahead and jump straight into those matches there. G2 versus Team Heretics, and Skewmon once again on the Mundo would go where he pleases. This seems to be a pocket pick that he is now turning into a regular pick, getting a kill there and getting the feats of strength after that kill. But we are going to see him continue his march in dominance as we see him with the gank here to help pick up the kill onto the Corki. Once again, this Mundo pick came almost out of nowhere last week, and it just seemed to be doing so well for G2 as they are playing in that Fearless. He now has that. Look at him pick up the Otacon. It's going to be uncontested here with the lead that they have, but now G2 will end this game here and the series with this pick on the Ivern and playing the support. And just look at this, playing the support, getting the Daisy out, getting this double kill. G2 would go ahead and finish this series 2-0 off of the back of Skewmon just going absolutely crazy, going 5-0-9 on the Dr. Mundo and 2-1-22 on the Ivern, picking up so many epic camps as well. He will be the G2's player of the series. Moving into the second series on Sunday, we have KC versus Fnatic, and the game already tied up 1-1. We have Fnatic looking for their first possible series win. They came off of a game 1 loss, but upset would help upset Fnatic in this 2-1 victory for Fnatic going into this. And here we have it. Bullet Time coming out is going to get the kill onto it, and this is exactly what they were looking for. Upset was looking to pull the team as the AD carry gets the kill onto Yike here, is going to finish the first game off 6-0-7 on the Misfortune. Now moving on to game 3, series is tied 1-1, and well, again on that, Kaisa just doing so much work, getting the jump onto the MEK AD carry, getting the kill here, and just once again putting Fnatic up. They wouldn't lose any momentum, and Upset was just maybe upset with that series against SK, and it's just taking it on to KC here. Look at that, another rampage for Upset as he just pushes down, always finding the correct ults, getting in there, using his teammates and getting those kills is exactly what they needed there. And they would take that series 2-1 versus Fnatic after that loss against KC, and Fnatic looking like a top team like we thought they were supposed to be, and a great job by them. But KC kind of falling under the weather a little bit, going 1-1 in their second week. It is kind of crazy how the LEC is stacking up right now.
Yeah, I just want to watch more Skewbon, honestly. Like the Ivern pick was just out of left field, not to mention the Mundo, but it was definitely fun to watch. I definitely want more G2 in my life. But as far as LEC and LTA are concerned, the matches may be over from the previous weekend, but we still got a whole schedule to go over.
We do, and let's go ahead and take a look at that schedule going into here. We have LTA North. We'll look at these teams. Of course, Team Liquid did end up losing to FlyQuest in that first game. Shopify Rebellion took down Dignitas. 100 Thieves took a win over Cloud9, and Lion surprisingly took the series over DSG. Now moving on to Sunday's matches, Cloud9 got their first win against Shopify Rebellion. Team Liquid got their first win versus 100 Thieves. FlyQuest got their second win versus DSG, and Lion took up another 2-0 going against Dignitas to end their weekend out. LTA South did have their matches as well. PNG beat IE. Leviathan ended up beating Furia. FX7M lost against Vikings, and then Red won against Loud. On Sunday's matches, Furia won against IE, Vikings won against Red, FX7M ended up losing to Leviathan, and Loud lost against Pain. Now, we do have some matches again going on today for LEC, but let's take a look at the current rankings from Saturday and Sunday's matches in week number 1. We do have G2 Esports reclaiming the top of the ladder with their 2-0 victory. KARMINE Corp falling 2-1 after their loss against Fnatic. Fnatic again jumping up as well to 2-1 after the win against KARMINE Corp. BSD, SK, Gaming, Team Heretics running out the middle of the pack, and Vitality Rogue will be at the bottom there. And then MKOI, of course, who end up having 2 of those hard matches in week 1, haven't played just yet and will be playing today against Giant X. So again, we'll have to take a look at some of those matches later. And as I said, it will be Rogue versus GX and TH versus KOI today to round out the week 2 of the LEC. So let us know who you're looking forward to in those matches.
Yeah, please get involved in the conversation down below, because there's plenty of League of Legends happening, not to mention all across the globe. We're waking up super early watching some of these banger of matches. They've been really, really fun. But let's go ahead and shift our focus away. You guys heard me during the intro. This video is powered by AIM Labs. So let's go ahead and take a look at what AIM Labs has to offer real quick if you're unfamiliar.
Games are about competition, a way to test our skill and prove we are better. Challenge is in our nature. We need to know what we're capable of. How far can we go? It's a question that drives millions of gamers to push themselves and prove that it's only a matter of sheer will. Ever since first-person shooters came into the esports scene, players have never stopped defying the odds through the most important mechanic of them all: aim. Aim is everything. It's a set of skills that needs to be trained, and this is where science and gaming meet in AIM Labs. The aim trainer that redefines what gaming means, because science doesn't leave anything to chance. Winning is never a matter of luck. Every brief moment of greatness takes constant and unrelenting preparation, and that's exactly what AIM Labs is about. We enable players to thrive and upset the balance. Together, we elevate play.
This is a really cool program altogether. I've been using it for such a long time. AIM Labs has been supporting so many different games. You saw the likes of like Baby Bay up there. I mean, it's just really, really cool. So make sure you tour yourself over to aimlab.pro/GGN to find out more. If you're a star-studded pro or a filthy casual, AIM Labs can definitely help you out, which is a perfect segue for us, because now we're going over towards Valorant, staying in Riot's IP, but taking an immediate look as far as what the tactical FPS is concerned. We're going to start all of our conversations with the Americas so far, and we got some highlights to go over, but we've had some good matches to talk about this past weekend. Starting off here, we had EG taking up against Sentinels, and what a grand time. Hell have no fury than a Masters champion on Cypher, Neural Theft in between the 2 cages. It's online. Bang, bang, boom. 2-piece. Looking for the ace. Cage is about to go down. Doesn't find it, but Zelsis had a great series versus EG nonetheless. Look at that score. 10-2. Are we sure that EG are 1-1? Well, I guess you could probably make an argument given who they did beat, but Sentinels, after losing the way that they did last week, we did not expect this. They won Map 1 Haven, 13-4, and then they go over towards Pearl. It's their map pick. You'd expect them to do well here. Zelsis was roaring at them continuously as they take a 7-4 lead in the half, and then they switch over towards the opposite side, of which they would not relent. EG would come to life. They'd keep things incredibly close. They won the pistol round, so they did have that advantage as far as an econ is concerned, but it's just that Sentinels got their econ online. Zelsis got the last kill on the map because of course he did. And then Sentinels were able to win 2-0 here versus Evil Geniuses. Now taking a look at G2 going up against NRG. Not a whole lot of people are going to expect NRG to, well, do much of anything in this series. And, well, you'd be absolutely right. G2 are the #2 team from Masters Bangkok, and they let NRG know about this. Jagamo went nuts. Leaf, Valen, Trent, Jonah P. Pick a damn player to talk about from G2 because every single one of them played absolutely lights out, especially here on the Lotus map 1 where they played a very standardized composition. I mean, to see Leaf there on the Viper alone was great. Trent on the Tejo was also very emphatic as well as they won the map 1 decisively 13-1. The biggest problem, that was NRG's pick. So now we go over towards Ascent, where you would imagine G2 are very comfortable. This is most decider maps, more often than not. A 10-2 half sets themselves up wonderfully, maybe for a pistol. It's a 1v3 in the end for the map, and you just got no econ, and you got no time, you got no lives, and G2 are going to smoke NRG 2-0 in that series. But there was a lot of action going on until the wee bits of the night last night on Sunday. So here are the full results as far as what we have for the Americas. Like I said, Sentinels on the 4th, they bested EG 2-0. Loud actually took a map off 100 Thieves, but 100 Thieves still won 2-1. Crew, they're undefeated, but they still lost the map to 2G, so we're definitely gonna have to go back and take a look at that one. G2 did smoke NRG, as I said. Leviathan finally got on the board versus Furia, and then MIBR beat Cloud9. They lost one map along the way, and that was the team that I was gassing up from the previous weeks when they played G2 incredibly close, and that shakes things up ever so slightly as far as the standings are concerned. Here how things are looking as far as the groups. Group Alpha, Crew still undefeated. They've only lost 2 maps, 100 Thieves nipping at their ankles a little bit, 2-1. We got Sentinels moving on up to 2-1 with that win over Evil Geniuses. 2G, EG, both tied at 1 and 2, and then Loud. You can win maps, but damn, you gotta win a series. Undefeated team on the opposite side would be G2 Esports in Group Omega. MIBR right behind them with a very close series that they played them last week. They're at 2-1, as well as Cloud9 losing to MIBR, which is why they're in the 3rd spot. NRG, Leviathan with their single win, and then Furia are going to be sitting down there. They only have a single map 1, but they have no series 1 as well. So there's going to be a lot of action that's going to continue on as far as the Americas for Valorant in the upcoming weekends. So you want to make sure you come back here on Thursday for Today in Esports. That way you know which games we're going to be watching.
And what a great America's matches it was, but again, EMEA is also taking off and Valorant as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the matches from over the weekend and see where it is stacking up in EMEA. Take a look at the first match we had, M8 versus FUT, and map 1 would be going to Icebox. It would start on defense, and you know, as you see, they would start 6-6 going into half. Everything looked even. And, well, the hard-fought battle would eventually end on offense as we would see them going up 13-10 and giving them 1-0 lead. But map 2 would go to FUT, and FUT would take it. Here we see them starting in the first half, going off, getting a good pistol round to get the defuse, and then end up going 12-12. There it is. They tie it up. And guess what? We're going into 10 rounds of OT, finally ending with FUT getting that frag at the end to get the win, tie up series 1-1. Going to the last map, another banger, well, not too much. This time it would finally end with a 13-4 in the favor of going into FUT, would take this series quite easily at the very end there. But that map number 2 banger, would we see another one going into our next match of the day? Vitality versus FNC. Yes, well, here we go. Map number 1 kicks off a little bit kind of the same, going 8-4 at the start. Vitality would be down at the beginning as FNC is having a good weekend in Riot Games here. There it is, seeing the pistol round, getting the frags needed at the end here by Les to start this off. But again, we would go into another overtime. 10 rounds once again. They just want to give the fans what they're looking for, more Valorant, but it would be Team Vitality coming out with this first win. But could they close out the series? No, they couldn't, as Fnatic would take the 13 rounds needed in game number 2 to end the map, going into a 1-1 series. Last map decider, we have Vitality going up, getting the rounds needed, but could FNC make the comeback needed? And well, yes, they could. They would finally get the wins needed, come back in a massive second half, winning 13-10 and ending the series 2-1, giving them the win over Vitality and a much needed win for their standings as well. But as the standings were saying, let's take a look at the groups for EMEA. Let's get into it here. We see in the group Alpha, Fnatic with that is going to go 2-0 right now. They're followed by Team Heretics, Team Vitality, and Na'Vi are sitting at 1-1, and at the bottom, Apex and Giant X at that 0-2. Now in group Omega, FUT with that win as well will go 2-0, and they will be the only undefeated team in that group as well. Gentlemates, Liquid, BBL, and KC are all sitting at 1-1, with Koi being the only team 2-0 as well. So a lot going on, but we still have some matches that will be starting on Wednesday. So we'll want to take a look at that, as Koi will be facing off versus BBL and Na'Vi will be playing versus Giant X.
A lot of good Valorant action happening, and keep in mind, you here on the Global Gaming Network channel, we're only focusing on 2 of the 4 regions. You got plenty of action happening at the wee bits in the morning, both for the Chinese region as well as the Pacific. You definitely don't want to be batting an eyelash at those 2 regions. They are quite crashed. But we're going to be putting all of the games on the shelf for just a short moment as we get ready for another weekly news roundup. And what a better way to start it off with talking about one of the hottest things on the market it is about to be is the Nintendo Switch 2. There's a lot to be talking about. You got a whole Mario Kart world, open world, where I can just pick Yoshi and just drive around. Sign me up. I'm all for it as well. How will Drag X Drive end up being played as well? I think it's going to be quite esports ready. It looks very good. And will Street Fighter 6 pros swap over to the Nintendo Switch 2? You guys decide that. Let me know what you think in the comments below.
Some massive news shocking the Counter-Strike world, as Eternal Fire's team has swapped over to AUORA. It was a lateral move. All the members are going over, but they have now signed with the new AUORA going forward. Let us know what you think of the team move, and if there's any changes that you think that Eternal Fire over AUORA may have had, or if you're just excited to follow the team wherever they go.
Staying within the Counter-Strike sphere as well, m0NESY has now been picked up by Team Falcons, and this comes as a massive surprise. He's set to replace Dexter, and this is going to be replacing him going in towards the current tournament that is happening in Bucharest as well. So definitely a questionable move. Lots of money being thrown around behind the scenes. Is it going to be beneficial for the Falcons to have m0NESY? He's a very cracked player. Only time will tell. That's all we got as far as the news is concerned. Now let's go ahead and continue to shift our focus into Counter-Strike. Like I was saying, we got a lot to go over. We do have PGL Bucharest happening right now. It's going on very, very early and sometimes late, depending on which way you're looking at it. But we do have some matches to go over.
Map number 1 from Mongolz and 3D Max on Ancient would have both teams battling it out here. And, well, what a first half it was. Both teams going back and forth here. We see them both trading kills and trying to get that foothold, but each team would really not be able to find it. As we look at them going into this map here, we did see Mongolz trying to get this one going down. They would not be able to find it. S3D Max would even it up 6-6 going into the second half. They were trying to do their best, but finally Mongolz would find their way back, getting the rounds needed to win this. This last pistol unable to find the kill there. Mongolz able to win 13-11 before going into the second map. Now on to map number 2. Mongolz trying to ride that momentum, but just really able to really get a foothold on the second map here. Well, there it is, the kill when going through the doorway. Have to check your angles there, but it is 3D Max is going to get it, tie up the half. Once again, 6-6, but here it is, 3D Max finally able to find a way to push out, and they are going to get it. Mongolz trying to get back into the game, but a little too late, as 3D Max would be able to finally take the series 13-10 and able to tie up the maps 1-1. Now, going into the decider, this is where it is all on the line for these two teams here, and it will start off with that banger 4-piece there. Now moving into the going in 7-3 right now. We see them going in, trying to find it, but they would finally get that 8-4 before moving into half number 2. Now, Both teams, Mongolz trying to get back, will find a couple rounds, but again, falling a little bit there, 11-6. Can they get the foothold that they need to get back into it? The 3D Max going to try to shut this down in the series as they are on round point here. And can they find it? Yes, they can. They're able to win the series 2-1 versus Mongolz before moving into the next one.
Astralis versus Faze would be that next series that we do have online for us, and these are two teams that are just struggling as of recency. I mean, I can only brief it up ever so slightly, but these two teams definitely need a win badly, especially for Faze. You know, after going through a little bit of a roster change, not things you definitely want to see, especially with such a star-studded organization called FaZe Clan. But we're going to start things off on Ancient. It was Astralis' playground. They led 9-3 at the half, winning 9 straight rounds. The Vice absolutely dominated. 10 kills, 6 stats, a 90 ADR, and multiple 1v2 clutches. Faze's Frozen, a measly 4 kills. Second half ended 4-1, and Stunned racking up 8 kills in 5 rounds. Astralis took it 13-4. The Vice finishing with 13 kills and a bunch of clutch heroics. Map 2 went over towards Dust 2 and it turned wild. Astralis led 8-4 at the half, the Vice snagging 12 of those kills with key first bloods. Frozen flopped 1 kill, 10 deaths, but the second half flipped. FaZe rallied 8-4, Frozen exploding for 14 kills. Overtime hit, and FaZe swept 4-0, winning 16-3. Stan and Frozen had 21 kills, 22 kills respectively, but FaZe still stole it, which meant that we had to go to the decider. Map number 3 went down to Train, and well, tied 6-6 at the half. Sahir went 11 kills and 104.5 ADR, while Brokey had 15 kills. They were the shining members of this map. The second half on the other side, Astralis surged 7-2. Stan went off 12 kills, 138 ADR, while Device added 7. Kargan, just 2 kills. Astralis clinched it 13-8, taking the series in an entirety of 2-1. Stan was the series MVP by far. He posted 56 kills and 89.7 ADR, with Device having 46 kills and clutches. It meant that Astralis were always in the driver's seat, and they knocked FaZe down a peg or two. We got plenty of matches to go over as we are now fully in the Swiss stage for PGL. Just a quick reminder, you want to win 3 of your Swiss matches before you lose 3. I don't need to tell you what happens when you lose those 3 matches, but when you win those 3, well, you make it all the way to the playoff bracket. Here are the full-on results as far as the opening stages are Swiss are concerned. Mongolz lost to 3D Max 1-2. VP lost 0-2 as well. Falcons lost to Complexity. The hell is going on? G2 also did beat Gamers Legion. Okay, so we did get at least some understanding. And AUORA did best Pain 2-1. Liquid lost 0-2 to Legacy. We already talked about FaZe losing to Astralis 1-2. And then Fudia were able to beat APOD G 2-0. As I was always saying, we got tons of action happening at PGL Bucharest, so make sure you tune in on Thursday for all of that action and all of the conclusion for the Swiss stages that are happening at the time of this recording, in between now and the time of recording of Thursday's episode. But did we miss anything? Please let us know in the comments down below what we are missing as far as the show is concerned. Lots of esports happening across the globe and so much to cover. But we look forward towards Thursday's episode and everything to do with esports. Y'all stay safe. This has been Today in Esports, powered by AIM Labs.